शब्द है, राम ब्रह्म है, राम है सबके स्वामी। राम धरा में, राम गगन में, राम ही अंतर्यामी। राम नाम ही सदा सत्य है, राम नाम ही सदा सत्य है। चले सत्य के पथ पर, राम नाम के दो अक्षर से तैर गए हैं पत्थर। बिगड़ी बात बना देते हैं, राम नाम दो अक्षर। राम नाम के दो अक्षर से तैर गए हैं पत्थर। जय जय राम, 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 जय जय राम। राम हे राम, राम हे राम, राम हे राम, राम हे राम।
सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति। Together we'll chant Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verses 1 to 10.
अथ चतुर्दशोऽध्यायः। श्रीभगवानुवाच परं भूयः प्रवक्ष्यामि ज्ञानानां ज्ञानमुत्तमम् यज्ञात्वा मुनयः सर्वे परां सिद्धिमितो गताः। इदं ज्ञानमुपाश्रित्य मम साधर्म्यमागताः। सर्गेऽपि नोपजायन्ते प्रलये न व्यथन्ति च। मम योनिर्महद्ब्रह्म तस्मिन् गर्भं दधाम्यहम्। सम्भवः सर्वभूतानां ततो भवति भारत सर्वयोनिषु कौन्तेय मूर्तयः सम्भवन्ति याः तासां ब्रह्म महद्योनिः अहं बीजप्रदः पिता सत्त्वं रजस्तम इति गुणाः प्रकृतिसम्भवाः निबध्नन्ति महाबाहो देहे देहिनमव्ययम् तत्र सत्त्वं निर्मलत्वात् प्रकाशकमनामयम् सुखसङ्गेन बध्नाति ज्ञानसङ्गेन चानघ रजो रागात्मकं विद्धि तृष्णासङ्गसमुद्भवम् तन्निबध्नाति कौन्तेय कर्मसङ्गेन देहिनम् तमस्त्वज्ञानजं विद्धि मोहनं सर्वदेहिनां प्रमादालस्य निद्राभिः तन्निबध्नाति भारत सत्त्वं सुखे सञ्जयति रजः कर्मणि भारत ज्ञानमावृत्य तु तमः प्रमादे सञ्जयत्युत रजस्तमश्चाभिभूय सत्त्वं भवति भारत रजः सत्त्वं तमश्चैव तमः सत्त्वं रजस्तथा
Mamita, we are saying we should try for sattva, but then sattva too attaches us to the world. How does sattva create attachment? We are not saying we should try for sattva. What is the right statement? We should try for
a higher ideal.
Transattva.
Transattva, correct. We have to try for the self. However, even that Vedanta doesn't advise. Vedanta merely says this, that if you are seeking happiness, the only place it is available is in the self. There is no advice in Vedanta. Until you say, please give me advice. Vedanta does not advise you. You saw in the Upanishads, right? It just states a fact. Then in the end, the student is standing there and saying, Acha, now tell me something further. So the teacher says, okay, then do this or do that. But Vedanta in itself, no advice. So, but if at all you would like to put it in that manner, then we have to reach the self, not sattva. How does sattva create attachment? Sattva doesn't create attachment. Attachment is a quality of rajas. But what happens is when you become very happy and become very knowledgeable, which is the state, you have clarity, you have happiness, you are that kind of person, then the tamas in you may take over. So you still have a little bit of tamas, right? And you are complacent with it. You're fine with it. And you can see this actually as a fact of life. You may yourself know people who are better than you, who have got according to you, they are clearer, they are happier. So you tell them, come to Vedanta, try and achieve the self. They are like, no, I'm to sukhi hai. क्यों करना है? So it's not that they are anti you or something, or they don't accept the greatness of Vedanta. They're just okay. I mean, they don't want to strive for anything. They've lost any sense of striving.
So it is the Rajas Tamas in the person is predominantly was predominant sattva that causes the attachment.
That little bit is not allowing further growth. So in the state of sattva, what is it that you are having because of which you feel now nothing more is necessary? It is the fact that you are happy and you're clear. Sattva being stainless. Stainless meaning relative stainlessness. In what is the stain in our personality?
Selfishness.
Vasanas. Very good. The stain in our personality is the vasana. Deepraj is saying selfishness may not work at that level, because that person can say, I'm not selfish, unless you take a very broad definition of selfishness. So there is no selfishness. But what is the stain in the personality? You have to answer vasanas, because at sattvic level now you say your stain is selfishness. It'll be difficult to comprehend. It's not wrong, but it'll be difficult to comprehend. So vasana. So the stain in the personality is vasana. What is the state of sattva? State of sattva is when vasanas are very few. What is the state of rajas? Vasanas are lots and they are raging to go. What is the state of tamas? Lot of vasanas, but dormant. So the difference is not in the number of vasanas. The tamasic actually may even have more vasanas, but they're all dormant. They're not coming to the surface, because the person is so happy being asleep that it's not coming to the surface. So in this, what is the state of sattva? Where the vasanas are very few, wispy vasanas, like very, very few. So he says, Vedanta is, so sattva is stainless, means very little vasana. It is luminous. What is luminous? It is shining. Light is always associated with knowledge. So where is this light coming from? Imagine that there is a bulb and there's a very thin cellophane paper around it. Okay, so you are seeing that light through the medium of that thin paper. So you're saying, oh, this is a very luminous paper. The paper is not luminous, the light is luminous. In Rajas, that paper is thick, red color. So you're looking at the paper, you can't see the light inside, you can only see the covering, which is that paper. So you're saying, oh, this paper is not luminous. It is not the paper which is luminous, it is the cell, it is a bulb that is luminous, means it's the self that is luminous. But because sattva means vasanas are fewer, sattva appears luminous. That state appears luminous. What does that mean? That he is a clear thinker. What confuses us in life are our desires. Our desires, being many, pull us in different directions. And that's why we get confused. If you look at any decision you want to take, anything, whether who to marry, which profession to take, which house to buy, which car to get, any decision in life you want to. Why is that decision difficult? Because there are so many desires going in so many different directions. when we have got all this multitude of desires, all taking us to different directions, we get confused. We don't know, is this better or is that better? Sattva, having very few desires, is very clear who is. So if they want to buy a house, they will be very clear what are the 3-4 things that I want in this house. And then the decisions are never difficult for Sattvic people because there's clarity of thought. If they have to get married, they're clear why they're doing it, what is to come out of it. They have clarity. Otherwise, it is like there is this joke that many men seem to have. They take a girl, some girl enters a shop for, I don't remember it fully, but she enters a shop for buying husbands. The first level of husband is he's got a good job and from a good family. So she says, is there anything better than this? Yes, this is he's got a good job, he's from a good family, and he's also very handsome. So he says, oh, is there something better than this? He says, yes, ma'am, on the 3rd floor you can go. So then 3rd floor she goes, and then he's rich. He's well established, he's got a good job, he's got a good family, he's very rich, he's very good looking, and he's got like tremendous body, a bodybuilder. So she looks and says, anything better than this? Every time they show her something, then you want something better than this. This is the typical state of Rajas. And then he goes to the 7th floor finally. And then again, she says, the 6th floor. Anything better than this? So she comes to the 7th floor and then she opens the door and she falls down. Okay, it's a story of the human life, really. There's something better. Can I get some more desires fulfilled out of this? Arey, Baba, you decide which desire you want fulfilled and go for it. No, that one also, and that one also, and that one also. Aise nahi chalta zindagi mein. You have to decide what you want and go for it. Now, what happens in Sattva is it's easy to decide what they want because they don't have so many different things pulling them. They clear what they want. They want this X, Y, and Z. And wherever they find X, Y, and Z, they'll help themselves to it. It's a simple thing. So luminosity. The luminosity is the clarity to not have contradictions in life. On one hand, you will run animal welfare thing. And then on the other hand, you will be a non-vegetarian. On one hand, you will go and you will do all sorts of charitable works, give money, but you will not pay the people who have done stuff for you. It is like, it's a very odd thing. When Rajas plays, when clarity is absent, we don't even understand our inherent contradictions. And then we get pulled in many, many different directions. So just that clarity. Bharat, is it because the goal of Sattva is clear, therefore decisions are clear? No. Because Sattva doesn't automatically give you a goal. In fact, that's what we were discussing. The verse is saying that, right? What is the opposite of a goal?
Like and dislike.
Okay.
Confusion.
Give another word for it. Okay, another word for likes and dislikes.
Attachment.
Very good. Attachment. Either you have attachment or you have a goal. These two are contradictory things. Right? Because goal implies obligatory duties. The moment you have a goal, you'll have obligatory duties. What is the opposite of obligatory duties? Attachment. Either you function on attachment or you function on obligatory duties. So what this verse says is the Sattvic person has, in this condition, forgotten the goal. That's what he's saying. So there is no question of him having a clear goal. He is protected not because he's living correctly. Living correctly means he's living the spiritual, I don't know how to put this, because he's doing the right things. He's protected by the fact that he has done the right thing. His past is protecting him here. And when that gets over, then he will have to suffer the consequences thereof. See, he has put in all the effort, he's become a sattvic person. Now he can sit there for 1,000,000 years. So it is possible that he has no goal. We will have to wait. He will have to wait. If he doesn't understand it and behave correctly, he will have to wait till he finds sorrow. Now, in the state of sattva, where is he going to find sorrow from? He could go on for 1,000,000 years like this, just staying in the state of sattva. So the reason he's a clear thinker is because he's done the work in the past, not because he's doing the work now. To get him to move will be very difficult.
Doing the work in the past would imply that he had a goal in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And over the course of time, that he's forgotten about that goal.
No, he's not forgotten about that goal. You cannot go backwards. He's fine now. He's contented. His goals are not increasing any further. He's like, I don't know how to explain this. This in fact, you've hit the crux of the verse. This is what the verse is talking about. How he's so contented with life that he sees no reason for further strife.
Okay. Thank you.
So he is luminous, means he's a clear thinker. Clear thinker means what? He's not contradicted. If he wants to achieve anything, achievement is very easy for him. He's a bright person, right? So any achievement is easy for him. Handling a situation is easy for him. If he says something has to be done, he can get it done. He is capable of working in a way that is so much pleasure just to watch him. Because he doesn't do. He is very smoothly, very nicely, does whatever he has to do. If you meet a sattvic person, you won't get the feeling that they are very busy and they have no time to talk to you and they're looking at their cell phone while talking to you. Nothing. When you're talking to them, you will get the feeling that this person has nothing else in the world to do. So he is capable of concentrating, because if he's having a conversation, he will concentrate on the conversation. He will not be rushing here and there. He will not make stupid mistakes because he's concentrating. Clear, right? So his life is very simple. His or her life is very simple. I must say, otherwise everybody will say, oh, you're only talking about the men as sattvic. No, I'm using he as non-gender specific. Let's say she. So she lives a very, very easy life. It's very easy for her. Everything is very easy. Everything appears easy. Everything is fun. Everything is nice. Now, why does she have to put in any further effort? Okay, clear about what's happening at the level of sattva, right? There is no problem that person faces. If that person says, okay, I must collect chanda for Diwali celebrations. He or she will collect the chanda for Diwali. It's not like a big deal for that person. But I want to set up a corporation. Set up a corporation. It's no big deal. Mahesh, you have a question?
Yeah, just wanted to know if is she performing karma yoga also, or because I think karma yoga requires that you have a goal. So is she doing?
No, there is no karma yoga because there is no goal. There is karma bhoga now. I don't know whether the point is being clear. This person is an embodiment of everything we are trying to be. But the person doesn't need to put an effort to be that person. We will look at that person and say, "Oh, what a person." From that person's perspective, nothing is happening. But society will be amazed to see such a person. So, oh my God, look at this person. How do they manage? How do they do all this? So does he or she have karma yoga? No, because karma yoga means goal. So, and he doesn't have a goal. So how does he do karma yoga? So then does that mean he's a selfish person? No. He is a very noble, charitable, and wonderful person. He or she is a noble, charitable, wonderful person. If such a person meets us, that person can only think of our welfare. They are not capable of thinking of it. They've lost the capacity to be selfish. Okay, Mahesh?
Yeah, but I mean, in the course on how to do effective work that we had, it was said that even a stage of a sannyasi, they do the yogas, but it is in a different from what, say, a yogi would do. So I thought that even till the end, all the three yogas were required for. So I just wasn't sure what's happening there.
Yes, Mahesh, you're completely right.
But he can yet not do karma yoga, is what we are saying.
See, Mahesh, can you define a yogi? Who is a yogi?
Person who has a higher ideal and has started on the path probably of the three yogas.
So what condition of desires is he in?
High to mid, I suppose.
High level of desires.
No,
Who is a sannyasi?
it's low level of desires, and whose goal is the self.
Right. Okay, this is clear, right? A person who has a high level of desires, does such a person always do the three yogas?
He ought to. I mean, he may not be.
Fact. A person with a high level of desires, does he or she always do the three yogas?
No.
You can have a high level of desires and not do the three yogas. Does a person with a low level of desires always do the three yogas?
Yes.
Yes, why?
Unless three yogas, desires will not come down. No?
But he's not wanting to reduce desires further. I don't know where I am leaving something undone. Your state of development does not determine whether you want to grow further or not. We may all be idiots in the class. Our state of development may be very low, but we may want to develop, right? A person may be highly developed and not want to develop any further. Is that not possible? Look at it from the perspective of money. A poor man may want to become a rich man, or he may stay where he is, not want to become a rich man. A rich man may want to become a richer man or stay where he is. Aren't both things available to a human being? So why have this assumption that if he has low desires, he will definitely want the self? The whole verse is talking about how he's staying attached. So I guess it's a good discussion because that's what the verse is saying. Clear or not?
So there's no chance of regressing, is it, from the state because you're not doing the yogas? You'll always remain in that state, and there's no chance that you'll slip back to
Yes. Okay, but now regression don't take up. And this is clear, right? A poor man may want to become rich or not want to become rich. Similarly, a rich man may want to become richer or not want to become richer. That choice is always there, right? So a person poor, rich in vasanas may want to become poor in vasanas or not. A person poor in vasanas may not see the desire to become poorer in vasanas.
Okay. Thank you.
I don't know which part of this is confusing y'all. What is the verse saying? Sukha sangena badhnati. Jnana sangena cha. It binds you. Binds you means doesn't let you move, right? What is a bondage? Where you can't move. So where can you not move to? You cannot move to the self. Why can he not move to the self?
Because he's happy.
Because he's forgotten that he has to. He's forgotten that. Or maybe never knew it. Not necessary that he has been lucky and had exposure to the concept of the self also.
So
But
when we are
then
talking
how,
about the
So once again,
person,
let me finish this line. So if you are born in a place where there is no concept of the self, but you have managed to elevate yourself, now you are stuck. Because somebody has to tell you, no, there is the self. Or you have to find it out yourself because you're so determined to know the truth. But the person may not be determined to know the truth. Yes, Mommy.
so when we are talking about the person, or the comparing the two people, the yogi who has lots of desires, and the person who has lots of desires but he's not, doesn't
What is
have
he
a,
called?
that's a bhogi, right? So he is not. So we are not comparing two people who are on a spiritual path. We're comparing one who is on the spiritual path and the other person is not on the spiritual.
Correct.
Maybe that is where the confusion. I mean,
Yeah. So a person with pure desires need not be on the spiritual path.
they could have just developed without that goal in mind. Just
Any goal will take you to lower reduction of desires. It doesn't have to be a spiritual goal. So just as the problem that is generated here is that we cannot understand how a highly developed person has all these wonderful qualities without having the goal. But it's not the goal that is giving those wonderful qualities, it is the fact that he has less desires. Then you will say, then why were you telling us all along to have a goal so that we will have good qualities? Why were you tricking us? Because, not tricking, it is because without a goal, the desires won't reduce. There's no point saying reduce desires because that is not a possibility. You can't tell somebody don't have this desire. If that person has a desire, that person has a desire. Now, what are you going to do about it? So you can't say don't have desires. It's the most ridiculous thing to say. If you have a desire, you have a desire. That's that. If the color of your skin is white, it is white. Now, nobody can tell you you shouldn't have white skin. It makes no sense. So, if you have desires, nobody can tell you don't have desire. If you have a particular desire, nobody can tell you don't have that desire. Correct? So, therefore, nobody says that. What they say is have a higher vision, have a higher goal, have something nobler to think of. These desires, pettiness will wane away. Right? But now what has happened is everybody thinks the goal is causing all those things. The goal is causing it in the sense that's what we have to do. But the ultimate cause and effect relationship is presence or absence of desire. You're not going to be happy unless desires reduce, that's the goal. Now, even here, there's a caveat. I don't want to confuse you further. That if you have fewer desires, but you don't control your desires, you can still agitate yourself if you don't govern the desire. So you need both these things. You need purer desires and governed desires, as you have studied multiple times. Okay, more confused or it's become simpler? Arun Sehgal, are you saying something because you're muted?
Yeah. Janki ji, in this verse, the thought is binding through attachment to knowledge. Now, this thought is the same which sits in that Isavasya Upanishad, that attachment binds you, enters you into greater darkness, something like that.
Same one.
It's the same thought.
That is a slightly larger thought, because you may not be sattvic there and have this problem. It covers the whole range. This is more, you know how Gita is supposed to be more explanatory. It comes down to our level. So this is explaining it further. There you could get associated with rituals. You could be a yogi and lose track of the fact that you have to reach the self. You could get associated with good and noble works and forget you have to reach the self. So it covers the entire track. It's not saying that you are noble and you're doing this. Even an ignoble person can be in that. Not ignoble in the sense he's gone to the temple to ask for profit in his business or something. So whole thing. Here it's a slightly more, it's a subset of that, let's say, because it's at the subtler level. It's saying you could be a noble person, you could be a wonderful person, you could be all this thing. And sukha sangena badnati, jnana sangena cha. You're caught up by that happiness and that knowledge.
And it's that small tamas which is creating this problem.
Yes. Tamas or rajas could be anything.
Tamas or rajas.
The fact is, you are not now willing to put in further effort. You're happy with the way things are. What we normally talk of as complacent. Very contented, very complacent.
Okay, thanks.
Janki,
Yeah, 1 second, Malin. Bharat had raised his hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we spoke about a scenario where the person might not have even heard about the self, but may yet grow. So how does personality elevation happen without that higher thought?
Higher thought doesn't mean only thought of the self, right? Self means of Brahman. Higher
But
thought can
self-knowledge
happen.
would include everything, right? The higher ideal also, including the ultimate ideal.
Right. But the converse is not true. Just because the thought of the self will include all others, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you thought of any portion, you thought of the self, right? But if you thought anything above yourself, you took that one step forward. Take a Wimbledon champion, right? He is a better person than us. Why is he a better person than us? Because he is willing to sacrifice his personal likes and dislikes towards that goal that he has set for himself. So he's way more in control of himself than we are of ourselves. He's able to have that capacity to sacrifice.
But not sure if a Wimbledon champion will be labeled as someone with elevated personality, because as and when that sports ends, he's back to square one. So how did the personality elevate?
He's never back to square one. If he ever he will continue to have the quality of discipline with him. It's not that he has lost his capacity for discipline, right? If he had it, assuming he had it. because that's all he worked on. He didn't work on other things. So whatever he worked on and he became good at, that will stay with him now and forever. Next Janma also, he will be very disciplined because he's learned that art.
Sorry, he's learned the art of disciplining himself with respect to one aspect of
Correct.
his life, right?
Correct.
But the other aspects may be completely in disarray.
Correct. So,
Okay. Yet not sure how the personality has elevated. Because elevation in my mind is control over all aspects of personality.
yes and no. It is, when you say better or worse, it's always from where are you comparing? If you're comparing it to a person who does nothing and achieves nothing, the Wimbledon champion is better. He has elevated to that extent. If you're comparing it to an objective Sattvic person, then of course there's no comparison. Then we have to go step by step, right? Since you interrupted the flow, I said better than us who are totally indisciplined would be, let us say, somebody who's able to be like a Wimbledon champion or a cricket star. They're better than us. They can do more than us. So better than them would be people who are able to work for something more unselfish, maybe. They're able to put in that same kind of discipline, but not for any kind of gain that ever accrues to them. And like that, there are so many layers. It's not black and white. Each step forward, one step at a time. And whatever step
Okay.
you take, you're that much ahead of the game. That is why
Okay.
you find people in classes, suddenly they're doing much better than others. They're doing much better than they were doing. When they do these things, many people just come to class and they are like, they're not even listening to the class. Class chal raha hai, तो अपना कुछ और काम चल रहा है. You know? So they're not even involved in the class. But those who take it up fully, do what they're supposed to do, they're not multitasking while the class is on. 1 hour in the week, you're not capable of putting your 100% attention on something. 1 hour in the week. Means you can understand what is the condition of the mind, right? No, I'm very busy. Not very busy. I have too much rajas. That is why it's a good thing to keep your video on. Not because other people will see you're there, but because you will feel a little more embarrassed to switch your video on and off. Because you switched your video off means something is going on, right? So when your video is on, nothing. Everybody is at home doing this, right? I'm also at home doing this. How come nobody's entering and I'm saying, acha, pressure cooker band kar do? Am I saying anything, madam? If I'm not saying it, why are you doing it? His mommy is all at home. Is she saying, acha, abhi jhadu, us kone mein jhadu karo? Please, chill. You don't need to be that disorganized. So therefore, keep it on for your own concentration. That means you're that much at least ahead of the game. Itna to kar lo. So you will find, if you do all this stuff, you will find people in the class generally doing better than those who are not attempting self-development, or at least better than they used to do. At least that much I think everybody will accept. So little, step by step. You can't jump. It's not black and white. None of us are pure as the driven snow. And none of us are black like whatever they show in the movies. Horrible people. One step at a time. Right? So depends, Bharat, on where is your point of comparison.
Thank you.
Now what is this? Who said something? Milind, you said something, right?
Yeah. Janki ji, Janki ji, Sattva is luminous and healthy, right? It's mentioned in the verse. But commentary says appears to be luminous and healthy. What does it mean? This is not contradicting, no? Appears means what? Is not,
Just
is
did
not.
that, no? Can anyone say why it says appears to be luminous and healthy?
Because the self shines through the vasanas, which are very light.
Very good, Mahesh. Only one person has been listening today. Remember the example of the bulb? It
Yeah, paper.
appears luminous. You're saying that that sheet of paper is luminous. That sheet of paper on the bulb is not luminous. The bulb is luminous. Since that paper is very thin, it appears luminous. Wispy vasanas, yes, okay. You're okay, Milind?
Yeah. Thank you.
Omkar. How does one differentiate between contentment and complacence? The difference, Omkar, between contentment and complacency is that we are using this terminology, all right? So terminology, don't worry. We are using it because we are standardizing terminology. Contentment is the feeling of satisfaction one derives because one has been doing the right actions. Complacency is the feeling of satisfaction because one has been able to avoid the right actions. In other words, complacency means you are very happy, so you don't have to do anything. Contentment means you are doing something and you're happy because of what you just did.
In fact, I remember Swamiji in one of the lectures warning sadhaks against getting complacent. And right now we are also discussing the fact that there is no falling down from where you are. So why would he warn us against complacency and not contentment?
Well, that's what the verse is saying, no? The verse is saying that there is a bondage out of being happy. That is complacency. That's exactly what this verse is talking about, or what Isavasya Upanishad, that Arun pointed out. That you're okay with where you are somehow. There is no internal strife for betterment. Don't you know the difference between a person who has that internal, what these corporate guys say, the fire in the belly? It's like there's some strife going on there. There's no fire only, it's a dead fire.
Yeah, so no, but I'm still not clear about this. When Swamiji warned sadhaks who are supposedly at a heightened level of sattva against complacency, and he particularly used the word complacency. By the definition you just said, complacency is something that one derives out of not doing the right thing, whereas contentment is satisfaction by doing the right thing.
So why will he warn you against contentment? If you accept the definition, then why will he warn you against contentment?
Because I would assume that
contentment is a good thing. Contentment is usually used. We use it, okay? We use it in the sense because we try to just fix definitions. In the language itself, they are flexible. So contentment we're using to mean that, there's a kruta krutascha, in the sense that you've done all that you need to do and you're happy because you have done whatever you were supposed to do. This is possible only if you have a goal. This is possible only if you're striving. If you're merely striving, but there's no contentment, then you'll get an agitated mess, you're rajas. If you're very content, because of which you're not striving, then this is called tamas. And that is your complacency.
Yeah.
So a human being experiences happiness or whatever under two conditions, tamas and sattva. And tamas tends to mimic sattva. So both the sattvic and the tamasic will appear to not be doing anything.
Yes, that's exactly my confusion. Because he said complacency in sadhaks.
Hmm.
So it essentially means the sadhaks have lost sight of their goal and
And they become
And-
mechanical. Yeah, they become mechanical about it.
and we also mentioned the fact that you don't fall from a particular level that you've reached.
Correct. How can you fall? How can you create desires for things which will give you less happiness? It's not possible. Why can't an adult create desires for childhood toys?
So you
Because
could
it
be
will give him less happiness.
so you could be at a level and stagnate there, not
Mhm.
fall,
Mhm.
and still lose sight of your goal.
Of course, because at that level you can increase desires, no? Okay, let's say that a man is a very selfish man. Then one day is inspired with working for the nation. Now he starts working for the nation. His personal thoughts will keep on interrupting this, and he will say, well, nonsense, I'm working for the nation doesn't care for me, I'm only doing everything, these people have no brains, they don't understand anything. Then he'll say, look, I don't know whether they understand or they don't understand, I am doing this. And like that, slowly, he will keep sacrificing his personal likes and dislikes. Sometimes there'll be a choice between him doing well and the nation doing well, and be very difficult for him. But he'll say, chalo yaar, let the nation prosper. Okay. So like that. After a lot of work, 10 years, let us say 15 years, he is now dedicated to just the nation. He's forgotten about himself. He's just dedicated to the nation. At this stage, now what? Now he can continue to expand the desires at that level. What used to be one desire, that I will work for the nation, battling his millions of desires below. Now, how did he battle those desires below? By encouraging this thought. But he forgot that he has to stop encouraging this thought at one point and encourage another higher one. So, at that level of the nation, he will create more and more desires. He will create more and more confusion. He will fight with all the other nations because how dare you say this about my nation? You know, all the rajas at that level. So his desires are increasing, but he's stagnating, but he is not regressing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think we've done a lot of discussion on this verse, so I hope it is clear now. The concept has to be clear. How at any time, no matter how developed you are, you may choose not to develop further. You could be at 99% development and choose not to develop. You could be, excuse me, at 1% developed and choose not to develop. That is a choice you have as a human being. It's available to you at all times, from the beginning of the journey to the end of the journey. Just as we are all, let's say we are average somewhere, right? Now, all those people at our level are not desiring development. All those below our level, can we say that they don't desire it? No, some may desire it, some may not desire it. Similarly, all those above us, same situation. And don't you see this in real life? Do you not personally know people who you think, oh my God, they embody Vedanta? But tell them, come study, will they come? No chance. Why not? Because that fire in the belly is not there. They're okay with whatever it is. They're content. They're not saying, I haven't got the goal, and it doesn't wake them up in the morning.
Janki, is it possible everybody, let's say, assuming that the person wants to grow and develop further and he's hit, say, 90%, is it possible that there is a limitation of no matter how much he or she tries, gets stuck there? It's like a Wimbledon champion. No matter how much you try, you can't go beyond that. I mean, you hit the sort of ceiling, class ceiling. Can that happen in spiritual practice?
You tell me, can that happen if he's at 60%? Can it happen at 10%? Can it happen at 2%?
So that's the point I'm making. No, it doesn't happen at 2%, goes to 10, 50, 60.
No,
90.
but you're making a universal rule. So everybody at 2%, is it possible that that nobody at 2% will reach a ceiling?
No, that's not correct.
That's not correct. Some people may and some people may not. So
Correct.
what is the difference? One still wants it and one doesn't. And that's a choice you have as a human being. There is no external thing stopping you from being yourself.
Yeah, the one who wants it doesn't have the capability, intellectual, physical, emotional capability to go beyond that.
Which capability is required? What is required of you?
The goal is there,
Mhm.
and but still
Give me an example of a capability he no longer has.
you can't reflect more, can't uh, put in more effort. I'm just using an example of a Wimbledon champion.
Yes,
No matter how
but
much
there's a difference. There's a difference between your physical, emotional, intellectual abilities and your capacity to realize the self. Because when you're dealing with anything physical, then you can say, okay, this is how much my body can do. My body is this color. I cannot make it that color, whatever. That's that. But in terms of your spiritual growth, can you say that, okay, I cannot love people anymore? Why not? I cannot think of God anymore. Why not? I cannot think about life itself. Why not? Even if I don't know what this guy Christopher Reeve, and so many examples like that, who were bedridden, but they did so much. He was paralyzed from neck downwards, but they did so much good work. So there is no ceiling on your spiritual growth for any reason at any stage, 1% or 99.9%.
because it's the unfoldment which you're working for. So what you're saying is that unfoldment will happen
If you do the work, yes.
if you continue to do the work.
Yes, and of course it will not be easy. But then when is it easy? In the first 2-3 months of spiritual growth, that is your best time. Because you come, the top, like, what shall I say? The junk level goes very quickly because it's not really a matter of concern to you. It's gone. Then the trouble starts and it will stay till the end. At every stage, there is a higher, there is a lower. That higher is inspiring and that lower is tempting. At every stage. And at every stage is the question, will I go with the inspiration or will I go with the temptation? This is common through the whole thing. Mamita. But it is not the capability, it is our inherent self. That's correct. That's correct. Yes, it is not based. It would be more correct in answer to his question if you said it's not based, because he's talking about reaching our inherent state. So that's a goal. So it would be more correct if we said it's not based on any particular thing. It is no rule that if you can't do X or Y or Z, you will not realize the self. Even the most obvious one, which is that you've never heard of the self. Can you still realize the self? Yes. All it requires is that the last desire be dropped. So there is nothing at all that says that that you are denied this for some reason. Bharat?
Yeah, so just trying to understand the state of the desire of the sattvic person. Let's say he's fueled that ambition with a desire to reach the self, and over a period of time, wouldn't the desire grow and keep propelling him ahead? So, what happens to that desire? Or is it that the happiness just camouflages it?
The desire for the self or the desire for God is not 0 and 100. As you progress along the path, the presence of divinity with you seems more and more a real phenomenon. When you're young in the path, you make yourself think about God. You surround yourself by things that make you think of God. As you grow in the path, the thought of God is natural. The feeling of the divine around you is natural. So that desire for being with God is actually, as far as that person is concerned, satisfied. He has not realized that he hasn't reached the end of this being with God.
So he would deliberately need to keep that desire on, I mean, fueling to reach the end goal.
Just as we do right now. You have to remember the goal is not reached now. That's what they say, Dilli abhi dur hai. Because you can be very content. Even now, we bought the university land, right? We can be content with this. We say, oh, we bought the land. We'll put up a few buildings. And we're happy. We run our courses. We may not reach university stage. This happen anywhere, anytime, anyhow. For every goal. You're just happy with it. You're happy with wherever you've reached.
Thank you. That's scary.
It is. That means you're understanding, if you understand how scary this whole thing is. Okay, so I guess that was verse 6. We will do verse 7 next time.
Hari Om.
Hari Om, Jan.
Janki ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Janki ji. Hari Om.
Thank you, Janki ji. Hari Om.